This one trend is dominating sales, domain name sales in 2021 so far, 3 months in, and I see it continuing to dominate sales through the back half of this year. Hey, Chris Zeichert with Media Options, help companies to acquire the raw version of the brand, broken some of the best domains on the planet. Check that out over at MediaOptions.com. Check out ChrisZeichert.com. I do a daily podcast over there. Check out my YouTube channel where I have a lot of great videos really going into my philosophy on domain names and pricing. Anyways, it's been a really good year for domain names. I think anyone in the space is just like blown away with just the momentum that's taking place. I think there's a lot of paradigm shifts in general in the marketplace, a lot of paradigm shifts in business, a lot of paradigm shifts in reality, right? We've had so much happen to us, but specifically in domains, in online strategy, okay? Because it all comes back to online strategy. If you listen to any of my videos, you know that my philosophy on domain names is your domain name equals your brand equity. Okay, it's this fundamental equation that, in the end, is brand equity, right? It's like, what are you building? It's about creating this effortless this effortless path for your customers to find you, to interact with you, okay, which leads to increased conversion, which leads to increased profit, and in the essence is what this formula for brand equity. Anyways, this trend we're seeing it's interesting because when we look back at our business in 2019, we were kind of doing maybe 60% outbound, 40% in acquisitions, and then 2020 hit, and we really saw that kind of flip, okay? The percentage flip, okay? Now, we didn't slow down our outbound marketing. In fact, that picked up a little bit, but we saw acquisitions really, really pick up, and to where it almost went to like 60-40, okay, as far as acquisitions we were doing versus outbound sales. And I did a couple of videos back last year, and I was just talking about this fundamental shift, right? More companies, they knew exactly what they wanted to acquire, and they were going after those assets. It wasn't like in the past. It was kind of like, not that it was sporadic and we weren't thinking about it, but you present an opportunity, and then as far as outbound outreach, it would either fit into their scaling at the timing, or they come back to several months after they went through their budgeting and they come back and they acquire it. Okay, it could be anywhere in this range, and I'll do another video on just the timing of how domain names sell, but. We saw it flip. More companies, they're taking money out of, let's say, physical marketing, and they realized that their businesses were changing fundamentally. And because of that change, they are putting more money into their online presence, online marketing. Now, what that meant is that more companies were buying domain names. Now, this was a very, very good thing for the industry. It's a very good thing for branding. It's a very good thing for my philosophy. It's a very bad thing for branding agencies because that's kind of like my arch nemesis, right? Branding agencies, because they say the exact opposite of what I say. But anyways, it's a very good thing because what that means is that more and more companies, they're coming into the conversation of how coming into the conversation of domain names. And what I mean by that is they're coming into the conversation of pricing, right? Of scarcity, of can I even acquire that? Up to this point, many of these companies, maybe they didn't even know the pricing. And I know that because we get a lot of inquiries that come into us. So they may not even have understood the pricing. Okay. And they didn't understand the pricing. They come out and say, I'll give you $2,000. We're like, man, you are so way off. We're in different galaxies. But the more conversations are had here, the more they're getting educated, the more educating they're getting, the more they can take those conversations back to their boards and back to their internal meetings and say, no, listen, it's going to cost us this, right? It's going to cost us this realistic level, and that's good for as far as understanding the true return on investment for a domain name. Anyways, I'm rambling here. The trend is this, okay? The trend is that more companies are going digital, more companies are understanding domain names, more companies are having conversations on their online strategies and this interaction with domain names. But I want to share with you one article here. This was an article, it was on Cointelegraph. And they're talking about Badger. We just helped that company acquire Badger.com, but they were talking about sushi. This is kind of reference in the sushi. I think it's a pretty good deal here. And what they were saying is that they couldn't believe they obtained this pricey domain name. We've seen a 5x in our Web3 calls to this instances. Okay, in general, they're saying, listen, this was a phenomenal purchase for us, right? It was a great purchase. It was amazing for our branding. I'm going to scroll up here, on the let's see the Badger here, because I think he said some interesting things here. Let's see here. He said that that one of the reasons they bought this is because they overcome the stigma that surrounds the cryptocurrency industry today. Okay, but the fundamental here is branding. Okay, the fundamentals branding. And so what you have is you have what I call, okay, so the 7 dimensions of domain name is number one is you have global positioning, industry positioning, branding, marketing, SEO, email security, and the ability to pivot and scale. Okay. What you're having is it's like, it's not necessarily the global positioning because they're not saying, hey, we want to own this for to own the global voice, right? This leadership position for our brand. So I use the example of Kraken and Kraken Rum, okay? Owning that. But they're saying we need to own this from an industry positioning, okay? From an industry positioning. This industry positioning is like, how do you relate to your peers? How do you relate into to even other industries? And they're saying, like, listen, I mean, crypto, Bitcoin, I think is $1 trillion market cap right now. It's just saying, listen, we need to communicate trust. I mean, people are putting their money into our products, and no longer can we just create that confusion. Let's say with a Get or My or Try or any of the different extensions. Like we need the best, and because of what we're building and this trust and how this relates back to brand equity, right? We want to make this simple and effortless path for our customers, and so. Just go back to this article. That's really the key here, right? It's like, as the Badger expands to become the most trusted place for anyone to put their Bitcoin to work, it's important that the first experience for non-native crypto users is comfortable. Okay, then we quickly become the common stigma that surrounds the crypto industry today. Now we've sold quite a few domain names into the space. Okay, I mean we're probably one of the top brokers in the space, like the cryptocurrency space. And I mean, really, that's. I mean, it's so true. It's so true. It's like, I mean, it comes back to trust. I mean, it's the essence of this thing we call brand equity. Anyways, I see this trend continuing. I think it's going to continue to be super strong. And one last point here on this trend is that, I mean, it really comes down to branding. Okay, it really comes down to creating and building just a phenomenal brand. I talk about the 5 different buyer types, and what we see is that because there's momentum in this marketplace, because with this momentum comes many companies skipping over the first 3 stages of the buyer types. Okay, so there's like kind of the hobbyist, the local, there's the regional, solo entrepreneur, then you go to the national legacy, and then you go to the Bible scalable, and then you go to the high rev. And so most of these companies, like they're launching on high rev, or they're launching on this Bible scalable model. And with that comes the need to create this simple and effortless path, because you need to have ROI very quickly. And so we're just seeing like this big influx into domain names, this big influx into sales and like acquisitions, and a lot of these companies like with this big aha moment. But in general, we just see a lot of conversations taking place that they're these like the leadership is like the leaders understand we need to acquire and own the raw version. I think that's great for the industry. It's going to continue. And I guess one last point. Okay, I keep like going to one last point. But one last point is this: is that I think we're going to see. You could possibly see some of the highest offers on your domains at this time. Okay, I think as you go into these bull markets and you see momentum coming in, with that you see very high offers. Okay, and with the kind of the bear market with it coming back down again. Well, let me give you an example. Okay, so back in the day when Bitcoin first had the first launch, right? It went from like $1,000 to $15,000-$20,000. I mean, there was so much momentum in the marketplace, and with that, I mean, there was just a lot of sales, a lot of very big offers, a lot of companies positioned themselves, and we saw some of the biggest sales. And then it kind of went down, and then kind of the momentum. It's this enthusiasm as far as this, I shouldn't say raw enthusiasm, but it kind of came out a little bit. And then you saw value still there, but it wasn't like this exponential value. And so one of the keys, if you are you do own a great domain, is like take advantage of it. Take advantage of the opportunity, because you're going to see some really good offers come through. And it could be a long time before you see those offers, and it could be the best offer you'll ever receive on your domain. So really think really hard about this. How do you capture this? So number one, the momentum's coming in, more brands are seeing it. With that, they're willing to spend more as far as looking at the ROI, looking at the exuberance behind that. But take advantage of that. I mean, this is an opportunity to make some money. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this today. If you did, share it. And going over to chriszagger.com, check out my podcast, go to mediaoptions.com and share it up. just got done listening to another episode of .com Strategies. Check us out online at chriszyker.com and at mediaoptions.com.